The microgravity environment at the International Space Station can pose special challenges for astronauts or Gaganyatris. India's Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla will face many challenges while he is in space. And normally there is somebody called a flight surgeon who's attached to every astronaut to take care of their medical work. I have with me Dr. Brigitte Godard. She is a specialist medical physician and has been a flight surgeon with several European astronauts, and she has also trained the Indian astronaut designates in Bangalore. Thanks a lot for speaking to me, Dr. Brigitte. You're a medical doctor. For astronauts, what is the role of a flight surgeon?
So the role of a flight surgeon is really to take care of the health of the astronaut, to make sure that everything good in space, so he can do what he has to do there, and that the medical background is still alive. And because when he will be back, we have to teach again the rehabilitation. So we are here really to make sure that all fine for him.
So a flight surgeon, does the flight surgeon actually do any surgery on the astronaut? And why is it called a flight surgeon?
It's called flight surgeon. I think it's come from whole time with the pilots stuff. So, but normally we should call maybe family doctor for astronauts.
Oh, family doctor for astronauts. So Group Captain Shukla will have a family doctor for himself on Earth.
Yes, exactly. So this is what we really try to do our best to keep him safe and know almost everything from his medical point of view, but as well, you know, when something goes wrong with the family, you are not in so good mood. So if you know him fairly well, that will be the best to help him.
So does a family doctor for the astronaut get involved in training the astronaut well before the flight, or do you get involved only while the astronaut is in space?
You are correct. We are starting before the flight to train him and to see how his reactions are. So you can even give him more recommendation and see if there is some point tricky for him. So we will help again. And you know, some part of the pre-flight are really strong, training in the centrifuge, training for extravehicular activities. So this is not only being in space, of course, to be safe, you need to do some sport activities, and that they will train as well on the ground, but you follow them as the more as you can.
So how much before does the astronaut or the flight surgeon get involved with the astronaut? Is it years or is it months?
Normally it's years.
Years?
Yes, 1 year. If you can, that's the best way you can do. Yeah.
And so you get to know the astronaut's biology, physiology, the medical condition so much fully. Is that correct?
You are completely correct. Yeah. The more you get involved before the flight, the better you feel, because you have to have a kind of trust in between you and your astronauts.
And do the astronauts go through a medical examination before they fly and in space and after that?
Oh yes, they are doing a lot. This is why we are here. So when we start 1 year before their flight, so as soon as we are getting close to the mission, so we will repeat some of the exams. So we do a lot of before, even in space, we will have some double duplicate exams. So we follow, we see if everything goes well. And when they are back, of course, we try to reach again the medical points they had before.
So who are the astronauts you worked with who have gone to the International Space Station, and can you name some of them who have for whom you have been the flight surgeon, and have you brought them back fit? I know one of them at least.
Yeah, I will mention, but not now. I started with Luca Parmitano, and this one was really well known because during one extravehicular activity we had really a stronger technical problem. So he had water in his helmet, so he has to come back. So I had handle as well Samantha Cristoforetti, an Italian fighter pilot, was for 6 months as well. And after that, I had Thomas Pesquet, the French guy. You know, this French
I know
astronaut.
Thomas, yes, and we have
It was
interacted.
really fun as well with him. And the last one I had was Matthias Morer. So he was flying almost at the same time as Thomas. So they were sharing time. No, in fact, the last flight of Thomas after we had Matthias, but they were not together. But we have after Matthias Samantha, and they were again together, two European on board the space station at that time.
So at the International Space Station, there is no doctor unless there is an astronaut who's gone as a doctor.
Correct, yes.
So what happens? Is there a medical room there, or a surgery, or what is there at the International Space Station to take care of the astronauts?
Yeah. So first of all, when we have I don't know why I say 4 or 6 astronauts on board the space station, we usually have 2 or 3 crew medical officer. So what is a crew medical officer? This is an astronaut who has been more trained on medical activities. So they are all trained on medicals. So they use classical device to see their ears, to register blood, and so on. But one is more trained, and then he got some training even in hospital.
So it's like a paramedic.
Yeah, you're right. But we have as well a lot of tools on board. And until now, because this is on board the space station, then we still can have communication. So in case something really bad or difficult happen, so we will have the link with the astronaut and give them recommendation. But normally they are trained on a lot of emergencies procedure. And you know, the fact they are not only going one, but this is a team. And they train the team together. And usually this is working well. We are repeating some emergency training even when they are on space station to see if they haven't forgotten anything.
I remember because with Group Captain Shukla, I have seen the training videos where he is doing artificial resuscitation of a human body to train for if there is an emergency. So what kind of medical emergencies can these astronauts handle?
So they could handle, we said about medical, but it's more about a technical issue. Like you see, like ammonia leak. So this is a leak of this ammonia. You will not survive too long. So they have a procedure to follow that. Fire emergency, leak, even pressure. On the medical side, so they will learn about cardiac arrests and how to resuscitate some patient. And you know, there is a good way to train on that about parabolic flight. So the first time
when you are up
exactly, it's a short time, but you have just the time you need to repeat some emergency, you know, the resuscitation of
the chest when you do that.
Exactly, because in parabolic flight you will be in weightlessness. So this is short, 20 seconds each, but that you can really see what will be the best procedure, and then after in space they feel when you do it already once, it's better after that. So all kind of medical emergency could happen. We were luckily not with the surgery right now, but this is something could happen, and normally they are trained to do some suturization, you know. And what kind eyes issue you hear about this new program we have, but this is not emergency.
So when somebody like Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, who's 14 days in space, will there be motion sickness for him, space sickness of some kind?
I would love not, but we can expect that, of course, because this is the first time, and your body is really, since you're born, really depending on the gravity on Earth, so we can expect some space motion sickness. But nowadays we use good medication, and they test it on the ground, so just to see if there are no secondary effects. And of course, this kind will stay 2 to 3 days. So we should not try to do any extravehicular activity at the beginning to avoid really to make that even stronger for the astronaut. But for 14 days, I expect the first day you have to be cautious and not to move too much your head, because if you move too much, you increase this space motion sickness.
Sure, because you lose your cochlea And the
You're right, the vestibular system,
vestibular
the inner
system,
ear
correct.
is where you have all of these semicircular
Semicircular
canals,
canals, correct.
very small, taking care of the position of your body. And of course in space, because you do not have anymore this gravity level, so your body is floating, and it doesn't matter if you are bottom or top, whatever, but at the beginning you are not used to it and you need to adjust.
So will that pose any problem?
No, I mean, but at the beginning probably you will not feel so hungry, because you know what are the symptoms of this space motion sickness. It's more feeling dizzy, feeling a bit nausea, a bit vomiting can happen. But in that case, you just have to take it simple, don't do too much. And of course, for long duration flight, usually we tell them don't do anything the first day if you are not feeling good. For a short one, so I expect with the medication it can help them really to even not have anything. It can happen. We never know. And of course, this is not only this change, but I think you have to add to that all the factor, the stress factor of the flight, the change in the gravity as well with the launch, but they are used to, they train a lot. So, and they are fighter pilots.
Yes.
Fighter pilots are really, really good on that.
Because they have done many sorties and
Absolutely.
they are very good
Yeah.
at doing this at very high Gs.
This is why at the beginning of the flight we prefer to send a fighter pilot, because they are already trained, and it is less work maybe for the medical doctor.
But have you had any emergencies in your career when you've looked at so many of these astronauts where there was an emergency and you needed to attend to it?
I have to admit that I was lucky enough not to have emergency during the flight. We have some minor events, but normal things, nothing really relevant to me. That was good.
And at the International Space Station, have there been any situations where an astronaut has been brought back to Earth because of a medical emergency and they had to rush him back to Earth or her to back to Earth?
I think when they came back, I heard about some emergency, but they were already on the ground, so we have to go to hospital to check, and finally was fine. We had some emergency, but I was not working at that time at the space flight, and everything went well at the end.
And what kind of changes can one expect for Group Captain Shukla when he is in space? He's on 14-day mission. What kind of changes?
Yeah, so the changes, the most important one maybe will be on the space motion sickness, because of this change of the vestibular system. You could expect even 14 days is a short time, but some muscles and bone decrease, but it should not be too much, because this will be really a short flight. But okay, this is something normal. And you know, when we do some studies on the ground simulating that, we already know that in 24 hours, we can see the change in the hormonal system, and the bone cells are changing. So this is something to expect, but not major changes. So for sure the body will feel it. And waiting, because depending on the kind of work he will have to do, if he have too much to do, so he may be really tired, so maybe sleepless, and so you can handle a lot because you like to do science, but when you are back you need to recover. But 14 days, of course, hurt is muscles, so he may have some tired, and when he will be back, intolerance orthostatic is what we are waiting for.
When somebody like this goes, is there a lot of stress in the person because there is so much work to do?
So the stress is more before they flew, because they told you, oh, medical doctor, you can maybe cancel my trip if I have something. So this is something to have in mind. So as their physician, this is why we need to know them really good, because they are really maybe more stressed before the flight. As soon as the rocket is gone, I think it helps them to say, okay, I realize my dream, I can do the science. But of course, the short mission, it depends what you ask them to do. But if you want to do a lot of experiment in a shorter time, they may be tired, but not because of the stress, because of they have a lot to do, as it will be on the ground when you have, you know, an exam to give back at in few days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does the biological clock get disturbed because you're seeing a sunset, sunrise every 90 minutes on the space station? So does the biorhythm get disturbed?
Yes, so normally we try to get a good pressure, atmosphere, whatever, even artificial light inside the rocket or the cargo. But your body has a different feeling. And so probably your body, even though you have a normal life, you know, you still, I think the brain, the hormonal system will have a different information. But it should not hurt too much. I think I think we should be safe.
And does it disturb the sleep cycle?
It can happen. Do you know that probably the second medication most used on board the station is sleep medication?
Oh, so they take sleeping tablets?
Yes, a lot of them. Not all. It depends. Why? It's because, first of all, this is really noisy on board the station.
Oh.
Yeah. Because
a lot of machines there.
Absolutely. You know, we have one computer working. When you stop it, so we have a lot of, and we have the ventilation system, and we have some alarms. Sometimes gets false alarm. So the sleep can be the problem. It depends on the astronaut, of course. And well, yeah, you know, I'm speaking more. Sorry for that about the space station. But when the cargo arrives, so you do not choose. Okay, I'm going to sleep at that time. So the cargo should arrive at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You are not choosing that.
Okay.
And sometimes with the NASA colleagues, we end up to do some going sleep later on until, and so you do this sleep shift programs. They don't like it too much because this is really disturbant for their sleep.
Sure.
This is the way you handle with the... Oh, another point, extravehicular activities. When I had some of my astronauts doing that, they are really excited. Because this is the main purpose. If you go in the space station and you are not doing for a long flight an extravehicular activity, this is something missing for you. But I remember you do always a conversation with your astronaut, a private conference before and after, and usually they told you, I am so excited about tomorrow. So you can give the recommendation if you need to take a really short duration, because this can help. This is a way. Yeah.
And what about the food?
Oh.
Because a food depends. Food will decide your physiology and how you're able to do your day. So does the flight surgeon also have some control on what kind of diet the astronaut will eat?
Me, I like it because I like to be involved in what they eat. Usually we have people taking care of that, nutritionists, but I think this is really important because what you put in your body is helping you to recover from disease as well. And so we follow on the weight. We are able to weight them during the flight and to follow about what they are eating to give them the correct quantity of calorie. Because what's happened in flight, because of all the change, something maybe I have forgot to tell you regarding what we can expect. We can expect at the beginning, I'm not hungry at all, because you have these changes, and even though when your body is on wirelessness, you still have this peristaltic motion going from your mouth to the end of your intestine, of the gut, to help you to digest. And this is still working, but maybe because of the fluid shift, the change in the orientation of the body, so you feel like a full stomach. Plus this nausea because of the space motion sickness. So at the beginning, you are really to ask your astronaut to take liquid at least, if you don't want to eat. And after that, you have to recover this. So there is a period which is a bit difficult because they don't want to eat too much because they feel already they have no time. Sometimes during lunchtime, they will just take a bar. So this is not good. So normally, as a physician, we try to get them having their breakfast, lunchtime and dinner, but we know, like we are on the ground, if we have something really important to do, we will have a quick lunch, but we should really try to get them more involved together, to eat together, because it's helping to have a nice
conversation like a family.
Yes, absolutely, but they are doing that more in the evening or the weekend.
Sure. So I'm told dinner time they prefer to do it together.
Yes, you're right.
Because they work with London time. That is the...
Absolutely correct. We use a GMT time, which is easy for us as Europe.
Yes,
time.
For Europe it is good.
But
not for NASA.
And for NASA, and even for Japan, it's even worse, because you have really
there the flight surgeon will have a disturbed circadian rhythm.
Absolutely, yeah. No, circadian rhythm, to come back to that, is really... this is not something you will know, first of all, this space motion sickness, because you have symptoms. This circadian rhythm is a bit more tricky because you don't have the feeling you have a problem, but maybe this is why we could see some blood draw changes in the hormonal system, in the immune system as well.
Sure. And what happens when they come back? When an astronaut comes back, does the space sickness continue?
Yes, when they come back, so we have two facts. The space motion sickness can be there because, this is really a kind of accident. This is brutal. They always compare that with a really strong event when they are back on the ground. I think maybe less when they come back with the SpaceX on the water, because this is smooth normally. But this is a kind of something really strong.
It's like a car crash.
Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Car crash, car accident. Yes. And and it's difficult to prepare for that. You can prepare with this centrifuge round, because they get a lot of pressure on the body. The body will be maybe 5, 6, even more G. This is really hard. And the second point we will have, always because of this gravity. So we are back on gravity on Earth. So now, but your body adjusts. Even in 14 days, I think, so this is not maybe enough to adjust, but so it should be less sick, I will say. But because when you just come back, so your full arteries and venous system is not adjust, you take more time. So we have what we call the orthostatic intolerance. So your vena. So this is why you saw them always sitting down, because if you stand up, your blood goes directly to your lower legs, and your brain is a bit. You feel really dizzy, and combined with the space motion sickness, sometimes it's not so easy to see what is coming from. But we have some measure to prevent. We gave them salt tablet before going back, and we see that there is a tools, which is called lower body negative pressure, that we could use.
Like a G-suit.
Absolutely. So this is really helpful. All my astronauts, when they tried it, they said, Brigitte, we should have that before coming back. But sometimes you cannot use it. You know why? It's just because if we have some cardiac experiment, it will change a lot your body. So we have competition in between science and medical sometimes.
But all through your career as a flight surgeon or the family doctor for astronauts, you said the astronauts have been safe and healthy. Fair? Is that correct?
Yes, completely correct. Yes. I was lucky because they were young and they were motivated, so they were well trained. When you send an astronaut, you sometimes feel a bit anxious. And I was asking Luca for his first flight just before he was flying. It was the first I had. And it was the first for the 6 we had, like you will be. Okay? And I was asking him, how do you feel? Are you feeling anxious? Say, I'm lucky. I am a fighter pilot. I'm not going to war. I'm going to do space science experiment. So, and they are really, really well trained.
And what happens to the mind? Do they become anxious about claustrophobia, closed spaces, and living in a closed environment?
I don't think so, because they train so much. So he was telling me, I feel really, really ready for that, because I spent so many hours of the training. For example, for EVA, they train in this swimming pool, but in closed environment, and they really train in the mock-up. for in Houston, when the same in ISRO, they train a lot in the small caps, and they have a lot of medical MRI. You know, this one are done in a really small place, and even for science, they do a lot of. So I think this is not something we expect to have a problem with that. So because of the selection process, first of all, and because of the training. So when they go there, I think we are prepared.
You've been involved with the training of the doctors, and we know who the flight surgeon is for Group Captain Shukla. So you think he'll be safe?
Yes, I'm sure of that. Yeah. I mean, you can always think about bad things, but we have really to trust in what we did in all the medical duties, in all the, can I say, professionalism. And I'm sure they are really, really well trained, well prepared, and they had a lot of talk even with NASA, with Russian guys, the most hands-on guys.
True.
No, I think he's perfectly in a good hand.
Thank you very much, Dr.
You're
Brigitte.
welcome. You're
What a
welcome.
pleasure speaking to you and understanding that a flight surgeon does telemedicine and does not do surgery for an astronaut.
You're right.
So this is telemedicine, which is taking care of the astronaut's health from Earth while the astronaut is at the International Space
Absolutely.
Station. Thanks a lot for speaking to me. So that was Dr. Brigitte Godard, a medical physician and somebody who's been a flight surgeon for several astronauts. And she says Group Captain Shukla will be healthy, and should be back and be happy in his work. It's a lot of work, but being an astronaut and being a fighter pilot behind him will help him. In New Delhi, Pallava, Bagla for NDTV.